Hey, well, thanks for stopping scrolling. It's going to be a 3-minute discipling Bible study. Last time we finished the wisdom books, and now we come to Isaiah. We're looking at one of the most quoted prophetical books and influential books in Messianic thought. The author is Isaiah the prophet. The audience, Judah, the southern kingdom. The date probably around 650 BC or a little earlier. The theme is God's judgments against peoples and God's future salvation for his people. Big things or events. There's so much. God is the Holy One of Israel. The judgment on all that defy God is called the Day of the Lord. The Messiah, the suffering servant of chapter 53, will come to redeem his people. Key verses Isaiah 6:8. Then I heard the Lord asking, whom shall I send as a messenger to this people? Who will go for us? I said, here I am, send me. Isaiah 9:6. You know this one. For a child is born to us, a son is given to us, the government will rest upon his shoulders, and it'll be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. And then there's Isaiah 53:5. He was pierced for our rebellion, crushed for our sins. He was beaten so we could be whole. He was whipped so we could be healed. All of us, like sheep, have strayed away. We have left God's path to follow our own. Yet the Lord laid upon him the sins of us all. Okay, that was a lot. The next two books are Jeremiah and Lamentations. Because they're both by the crying prophet, Jeremiah, they go together. The author is Jeremiah, the audience, again, Judah. The date, probably around 586 BC. That's when Israel went into captivity, or Judah went into captivity. The theme is to warn Israel, or really Judah, about the coming Babylonian captivity and to sorrowfully lament it. Big things or events. Jeremiah's scroll is burned. He's tossed into a cistern. Jerusalem falls to Babylon. And in Lamentations, happy themes like starving mothers were reduced to cannibalism. Key verses Jeremiah 1:1. I knew you before I formed you in your mother's womb. Before you were born, I set you apart and appointed you as prophet to the nations. Jeremiah 17:9. The human heart is the most deceitful of all things and desperately wicked. And Lamentations 3:22. The faithful love of the Lord never ends, his mercies never cease. Great is his faithfulness. Finally, Ezekiel. What a book of amazing word pictures. This is Ezekiel, and the audience is Israel in exile in Babylon, about 570 or so BC. Messages against Israel, message against the nation, consolation for Israel. Probably the most biggest picture is the dry bones in 37, the throne room, the watchman, Gog and Magog. Ezekiel 37. Then he asked me, Son of man, can these bones become living people again? O sovereign Lord, I replied, you alone know the answer to that. He does. God bless you. We'll talk to you next time on Day of Devotion.